everyone, it's me, Juan, Guby54, back in the video, and today, we're back. After finally closing off the pilot episodes for the new era of the Theories community, I figured now we can finally start enjoying the new era of film theory. And today, I bring you guys a reaction to Guppy. And just by looking at this guy right now, oh boy. Let's just do it, shall we? Anyways, let's do this. No more wasting time, I suppose.
Hey, kids. My name is Guby. And today,
Gibby?
we're gonna learn about film theory.
Oh, okay, so this is gonna be like Amanda the Adventurer, I guess.
My favorite part of film theory is the...
Alright, you want to jump scare me? Come on, I got the hands up. Come on, put them up. Help you? I ain't gonna help you. Fight them hands.
Welcome to Film Theory, the show that wants to know your favorite color. My favorite color is... subscribe. If there's one thing that I have been most excited about coming in as the host of Film Theory, it's the opportunity to really dive into the work of independent creators. Don't get me wrong, big budget content is great, but I found that especially in horror, it's the independent creators who were able to
I'm really enjoying Invincible Season 2 right now.
They can dive into what truly terrifies them instead of what a boardroom thinks will spook the ideal number of people, but not too much because we want them to come back for a sequel. That independence, that...
I'm glad that he brought that up. Did you guys know that the Winnie the Pooh's horror sequel got, like, exceptional good numbers? Like, what? Huh? I was baffled. Was it really that good? I didn't even watch the original. But, hey, I mean, I don't know. I'll probably do my review on it in the extra channel. Although I wish I could do a full-blown reaction to it. Anyways, but still, we're getting a horror Disney cinematic universe. That's crazy.
Level of creativity and mystery and horror is what we're going to find today in Guby. The heck is Guby? I hear you ask. Well, other than a word that is really fun to say, Guby is an analog horror channel that you're going to find right here on YouTube.com. But rather than getting its spoofs from evil animatronics like the Walton Files, or creepy found footage like the Backrooms, or body horror like The Man in the Suit, Guby is more like a parody of classic call-and-response children's entertainment like Dora the Explorer or Blue's Clues.
This is number 1. Then this is number 2.
Ah, heck no. I am making sure the kids never see this.
Like those series, as the channel description tells you repeatedly, Guby is not made for kids. This is one of those series that was recommended to us by the good folks over on the Film Theory subreddit, and I have to say, you guys nailed it. Matt and I have been covering it over on GT Live, and it's some of the most fun that we've ever had overthinking things.
I saw some lore. Abby,
last seen in her home, January 3rd, 20...
We missed you, my pet.
Watching something in her pajamas. Her parents,
Jamie and Albert Lang.
Told no one.
Someone in the living room.
Nah, I can't.
Yeah, right.
Oh. No, honestly, we really overthought it. By the time we got to our 5th cipher puzzle, I knew this was something that I just had to cover here on the channel. And after diving into it, there is so much more to Guby going on than the happy-go-lucky surface would have you believe. You see, underneath this facade of a smiling yellow noodle friend is a dark secret. An evil being literally worming its way into reality through the television and punishing any children that refuse to play along. Pick your favorite animal, loyal theorists. It's time to solve this mystery.
Alright.
So, first things first. Guby is one of those series
that is
very dense. Covering each and every puzzle would take a very long time. So what we're going to do instead is hit the broad strokes and then dive into the main mysteries of the story. Cool?
Okay.
Cool. Let's start by going over what's actually in the Guby videos.
Okay.
Each of these covers a topic that you'd expect to see in a kindergarten classroom. Think letters, numbers, the color of blood, that sort of thing.
Well, what?
Now, you may not have noticed, but there is something very strange going on here. Yeah, the more you watch, the more you realize that something's not quite right with Guby. Sometimes Guby takes drastic personality shifts, asking for personal information.
Do you want to see my favorite number? It's on one of these.
And other times,
Heck
Guby lets
no.
his darker interests come through.
You want to see my favorite animal?
What?
It's one of these.
And then sometimes, at random
Nah.
intervals, glitches will overtake the video.
Today, we're going to learn about sound.
You get the idea. Now, we don't
heck
need
no.
to sit here and go through every single video explaining exactly what happens.
Demonic
Please
spawn.
go show some love to Guby and watch through the videos yourself. But I do want to talk about what's buried in these videos. See, in classic analog horror fashion, during some of these glitches, there will be pictures or information hidden in just a single frame of the video. And let me tell you, Guby loves to use this trick. In Learn Numbers, there's some Morse code hidden in one of the glitches that's difficult to read, but likely translates to evolving. In Learn Shapes, we see various incarnations of Guby across different mediums. A realistic Guby, a puppet Guby, an old school cutout style Guby, and in
That is
Odd
all
Colors, the whole
creepy,
video
and
ends
that's
with
not
an
saying
extended
much, because
glitchy clip
Guppy
of
is
an entirely
immensely
different
scary right
video.
now. Oh!
But most prominently throughout multiple videos, we see bits and pieces of missing persons posters for children, all aged between 3 and 14.
Oh no.
And yeah, just from a straightforward content perspective, that's Guby. So, what the heck?
Yeah, what the heck is going on? And I just saw a mask, so I'm very fearful that someone is pulling a William Afton right now. I know, for some strange reason, all I can think of is FNAF. Don't judge me.
What's actually going on here? Well, let's start out with the obvious bit. Guby here, he's clearly the reason that these kids are going missing. The first
Obviously,
big
it's
piece of
obvious.
this puzzle is that the kids in these posters all seem to have gone missing while they were watching TV or in their living rooms. And we know that they were watching Guby because in Learn the Alphabet, we see that a victim's sister left the room to find their grandmother's credit card. Remember the clip we showed earlier?
Do you want to see my favorite number? It's on one of these.
What's more, during
Bring
many
it
of
over
these
here.
glitches, we can see multiple images of different children sitting in living rooms looking directly at the camera, almost as if the camera were actually a television. These are the kids that went missing, and we're seeing them from the point of view of the television, from the point of view of Guby. So somehow, Guby is kidnapping these kids through the TV, and we can even
So,
figure
like
out
Amanda.
how Guby is doing it too. Over on GT Live, we wondered if the kids answering Guby's questions were sort of giving him permission to come into the real world and take them. But after rewatching the series, that's not.
Oh, come
The
on.
federal government wants to have a say.
But after rewatching the series, that's not actually what happens. In Learn Animals, Guby has this exchange with a viewer that we can hear.
I love animals. Do you? Yes. Oh, that's good.
The kid answers Guby's question, and everything is great. But elsewhere in the video, the child interrupts Guby, and Guby does not take it well.
My
Favorite shape is...
My favorite shape is a circle.
Oh, dang.
Guby freaks out. And notice that subtitle? It might look like nonsense, but it's actually jumbled up letters that when put in the right order read, only speak when spoken to. He's telling the child exactly how to play along, to get the answers he wants in the way he wants, when he wants.
So demanding.
Notice that Guby straight up disappears here. This has to be
So
when he's coming out of the TV to get the kids and
So
drag them into his
demanding.
world.
Calm
And just so
yourself
we're
before
all
the
on same
pimp slap
page,
happens.
This isn't the only time this happens.
And this is a pig.
Again, those jumbled up captions read, "Listen to what I tell you, pig." Guby is then interrupted for the third and final time at the climax of the video.
You want to see my favorite animal? It's one of these. It's called a raw animal.
Once again, Guby goes wild, and the video just cuts to black. Oh, and also worth noting that the subtitles tell us that all animals have teeth, which is just factually inaccurate. I thought this was an educational program. So Guby seems to be taking these kids that he sees as they're doing what they're told, speaking when they're not being
Run me
spoken
outside,
to,
Guby.
dragging
Right
them into the
outside
TV.
now.
But what becomes of them then? Well, they become a part of Guby, still aware and still somewhat conscious. During many of the glitches across the whole series, sometimes sequences of numbers will flash on screen. Adept theorists will recognize these as some sort of cipher, and after some trial and error, I was able to figure out that they were actually tap codes, which we've covered before over on our sister location game theory. So go check that out if you want a really in-depth explanation. If I'm being frank, most of these aren't super important to the overall mystery. They're more so used to emphasize the creep factor. Like here, where they spell out he is not who he says he is. Spoopy, to be sure, but nothing new. However, there is another tap code hidden in a later video that reads, "Where are we?" asked Sophia. "We are in a beautiful meadow," whispered Michaela. "This is not a meadow," responded Sophia. Michaela and Sophia were two of the kids from the missing persons posters, and as we see here, they can still see. They can even talk to each other, and some of them even think that something is wrong. And also, we know that this meadow that Michaela is seeing isn't some sort of weird purgatory TV space, because some of the kids try to communicate with the outside world through Guby. Like here in Learn the Alphabet, where there's a moment where one of the kids seems to speak out of the TV.
My favorite words are help me, please help me.
That's
Oh.
not Guby. That's a little girl speaking. Likely Michaela, since that's the missing person poster we see shortly after this. In fact, we hear multiple voices come out of Guby. Remember the deep male voice we heard back in Learn Numbers? And in Learn Sounds, we hear Gooby's favorite sound, and that sounds a lot like kids screaming.
You want to hear my favorite sound?
Plus, the name of the
Ah,
channel isn't
heck
just
no.
Guby. It's Guby and Friends. The friends are clearly the people that he's absorbed. And after all of that evidence, if you're
With his
still doubting this,
with his
well, this should
unhinged
put a pretty
jaw.
little bow on the point. During one of the glitches, a random quote appears. This one isn't encrypted in a cipher or jumbled in a subtitle. It just reads, "To us as a burning bush, and said we could kill the hurricane bird." If that made no sense to you, fair. It also made no sense to me, but after some
Yeah.
digging, I found that it's actually a quote pulled from the short story titled "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream" by Harlan Ellison, which,
Oh.
hear this, involves a character being merged into an artificial intelligence and tortured forever. Yeah, I know. This was actually one of the main
Dang.
inspirations for the Amazing Digital Circus, and it's
Ah.
a lot like what's happening here with Guby. Just some food for thought, y'all. So that answers what Guby is and how he's doing it, but why?
Yeah,
Why is
what's
he
the
kidnapping
purpose?
all of these kids and
And
sucking
let me
them
guess,
into
it's
his
another
TV
higher up.
purgatory? Well, for us to solve that part of the mystery, we're going to have to really dig deep and solve the biggest puzzle in the series so far. In the video Learn with Guby, we quickly see that something is off. This is the first video with no subject and no Guby. Instead, there's just static. But
And it has
down in the
analog
captions,
horror.
You will see something.
All right. Oh my God.
So, if you're like me, your mind is first going to jump to the thought that this is some sort of cipher hidden in the closed captions. But notice that some of the letters in these captions are different.
Like, analog
colors than the
horror
rest
is
of
a
the
great
text.
thing to
That's
teach your
actually
kids.
impossible to do on YouTube captions. Yeah, these are physically burned into the video, but just look like YouTube captions. Honestly, this was an amazing way to play with my expectations, and I loved it. Anyway, if we go through and collect all of the differently colored letters, you find that it makes a blank YouTube URL. And as soon as the fake captions stop, other letters and numbers start flashing up on screen, spelling out this. Now, your first thought may be that this is the rest of the YouTube URL, but
Yeah.
it's actually too long to work. If you
What?
try to go to the video with this code, it just breaks. But here's the cool thing, and shoutouts to Rubex3 on the Game Theory subreddit for helping us figure this one out on GT Live.
Oh,
Down
good job, bro. Oh, come on!
Wendy's made the official hamburger of March Madness.
and you'll find this string of
There we
numbers.
go.
And if you line these up with the previous sequence, you get a new string of text that is the perfect length for a YouTube URL. Plug
Okay.
that sucker in and voila, a valid link to a brand new video. I combed through this video frame by frame to make sure that we caught everything. And while there are a ton of hidden images, they're all related to things that we've already seen in Guby. X-rays of children, images and cutouts of the missing kids, photographs of animals, diagrams of the human brain, and multiple pieces of what I can only call fan art. But the biggest piece
Fan
of
art.
information we learn here actually
Ah.
comes from the captions once again. Though at first this might just seem like a strange jumble of random words with no rhyme or reason, if you take the first letter of each word here, it actually spells out this message. Ideas are birthed from the mind. He let me in, and through him, I let myself out. The larger pigs have less teeth. The smaller pigs have more to grow. How I feast upon the teeth. How I feast upon the teeth. How I feast upon the teeth.
Okay,
To
we
me,
get it. You're
this
hungry for
reads
teeth.
clearly
Get off.
as a message from Guby himself. But what about the teeth? That is weird, right? Yeah, it is. But it's also been a recurring bit throughout the whole series. I mean, there was that time where the subtitles incorrectly told us that all animals have teeth. Teeth are present in a lot of the frame-perfect glitch imagery. And at the end of one of the videos, we see this clip. This was pulled from an educational stop-motion animation called The Munchers, a fable meant to help children take care of their teeth.
Oh, no.
Teeth are everywhere in this series.
When does
But
teeth
why?
become like that
well, that
now?
could point to a couple of things. Firstly, teeth dreams. Stick with me here. Have you ever had a dream where your teeth just get really loose and start falling out of your head? If you have,
Unfortunately.
you're not alone. It's actually a fairly common dream, with philosophers dating back all the way to ancient Greece trying to figure out what they mean. One of the most popular modern interpretations of this is that the teeth in your dreams represent power. Teeth are tools used to bite, to rip and tear, so that
Yeah.
makes sense. Well, Guby is obsessed with teeth precisely because they represent power in the subconscious human brain. And that would matter to Guby because Guby is literally a thought manifested into reality. See, back in the Learn Animals video, we encounter another glitch, but this one is different. It's less of a glitch and more of an interruption where we stay on this series of monologues for a long time. They talk about how the narrator's mind has been consumed by thoughts of him, how this narrator imagined his antics, how his name conjured up laughter, joy, innocence, and wonder, how he was an embodiment of childhood itself, and then how he was a manifestation of the narrator's desires, his aspirations, willing itself into existence through the narrator's mind. Most
Alright.
importantly, though, this being started taking the wheel, started pulling the strings enough so that the narrator couldn't even remember a time when this being wasn't a part of them. And by the end of it, the narrator was just a vessel for this being to will itself into existence.
Dang.
Not gonna lie, that's really cool, and this idea reminded me a lot of something known as a tulpa, or thought form. These are beings that come into existence through the sheer force of someone believing in them hard enough. Basically, Guby here is not a real being, but was made real because of whoever imagined him. But this does leave one major dangling thread. Who made Guby originally? Who was the narrator who brought Guby
Let me guess,
into
it's one of the
existence?
higher-ups.
Well, we can get a pretty good idea of that, too. Throughout the glitches, we can see a sharply dressed man wearing a realistic Guby mask, surrounded by an audience of children. Given the width of the man's jacket lapels, the sort of celluloid yellow
And let me
aesthetic of
guess.
the images, and the audience of kids that he's talking to, this is giving some real 70s show energy to me. See, in the early days of TV, particularly
What?
between the 50s
He's gonna pull
and
William
70s,
Afton.
a lot
Watch,
of
trust
sitcoms
me.
and children's programming was
Trust
filmed
me.
in front of a live studio audience. This clip from Howdy Doody gives you a pretty good example of what I mean. So it looks like this guy is the originator of Guby, and that he hosted a show as Guby sometime during the 1970s, wearing a mask to physically embody Guby to help him take the wheel. Then at some point, Guby made the jump from this sort of classic broadcast TV style program to something digital, and we know that for a fact for a few reasons. Firstly, we often see Guby turn into sort of rudimentary wireframes, which are the backbone of modern 3D animation. Secondly,
Alright.
the dates on the missing persons posters point to them happening sometime in the 2020s. And hey, let's be real, I doubt there are going to be many kids watching anything that isn't digital these days. When you
True.
step back and look at all of these pieces on the table, the puzzle becomes so much clearer, and it explains so much. Why is Guby taking the form of a call and response TV series? If kids hear his question and believe that he's real enough to answer him, that would make a tulpa, a being that can only exist if people believe it exists, more powerful. Why would Guby be obsessed with teeth? Well, if teeth represent power in your dreams, and dreams come from your mind, a tulpa would be obsessed with them. Why is Guby targeting kids and kidnapping them? Well, if
They're
kids
easy
watching
to
his show
manipulate,
aren't playing
unfortunately.
along, aren't believing in him enough to answer his questions the way he wants, when he wants, they'd be making him weaker. Plus, do you know what children happen to have more of than adults? Teeth. Yeah, kids are born with all of their teeth. They're just inside of their skull. And kids just tend to be far more imaginative than adults. Like, literally, multiple studies have concluded that people become less creative as they age just because they settle into mindsets or worldviews. So
Aw,
again, Guby
man.
would want that additional imagination to help
I'm
him
cu-
manifest in
come on,
reality.
man.
The pieces just line up far too well. At this point, there isn't quite enough information to truly solve the mystery of what's going on here in Guby. There are a lot of dangling threads that we just don't have great answers for. For example, there are
Then something
other
tells
clips
me we're
from
gonna be
nature documentaries
going back to
sprinkled throughout the
Guby
series.
It's because of
for
their
another
large
time.
and complex brains that mammals are able to pass survival information from generation to generation.
And another picture that pops up repeatedly in the glitches showing this man from the 1930s or 40s.
Who
And then
is
there's
most
the
likely
song
the
that
guy
plays
who
over
was wearing the
narrator's
Guby
creepy
mask.
monologue. This thing? This this is a real song titled Any Little Girl That's a Nice Little Girl Is the Right Little Girl for Me from the 1910s. How does any of that fit with the idea of teeth, or connect with the different eras of entertainment that Guby is bridging? And what does any of it have to do with the concept of a tulpa? Those are all mysteries for another day, my friends.
I knew it.
Or who knows, maybe Guby was made by a dentist who was just really into retro music. Either way, I for one can't wait to take a bite out of the next part of Guby's story. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And
Alright, so that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like the videos. I know you guys enjoy, and comment down below. What do you guys think? Personally for me, Guppy is interesting, but like that title says, I'm most likely going to say, don't let your kids watch this, because there's no way that if, for some whatever reason, my sisters come, I know my sisters are going to be fearful, so, you best believe I'm smacking Guppy right across the head. But, yeah. Oh boy, that is creepy. When is child entertainment suddenly become creepy? When did this happen? But whatever. And subscribe. We're trying to upload daily. This is Gamer54 signing off.